The afternoon sun burned hot over the quiet suburban cul-de-sac, but the air wasn't peaceful. It was sharp, like something bad was about to happen. On the corner of Willow Creek Lane, a little girl named Amara was crouched beside the neighborhood flower bed, laughing softly as she plucked a few wild daisies to make a bracelet. Her backpack was still slung over one shoulder, her curly hair bouncing in the light breeze. She was only 12, still innocent enough to see the world as kind. Then came the voice, cold, harsh. "What do you think you're doing?" Amara froze. Slowly, she turned her head, and there she was. Mrs. Treadwell, the HOA board president. Neighbors called her Karen, though never to her face. Her manicured hands clutched a small pistol, glinting beneath the sun. "Don't you move," she hissed. "You don't belong here." Amara's throat tightened. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear herself whisper, "I live here. Don't lie to me." The woman snapped. "I've never seen you before. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who is listening." Amara's voice trembled as she tried to explain. Her father had just bought the house on the corner, the one with the red shutters, but Mrs. Treadwell wasn't listening. She stepped closer, the gun steady in her shaking hand. Her eyes burned with something ugly, fear dressed up as authority. From across the street, blinds shifted. A neighbor gasped. A man whispered, "Is that a gun?" Yet no one moved. No one spoke up. The cul-de-sac held its breath. Amara's lip quivered. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just stared at the cold metal pointed at her chest and whispered, "Please, ma'am, my dad's coming home soon." And somewhere, 2 blocks away, a black SUV turned onto Willow Creek Lane. Inside, Marcus Taylor's hand rested on the steering wheel, calm but alert, the way he'd been trained. His instincts, fine-tuned from years in Delta Force, picked up the unease before he even saw it. The way the birds had gone silent, the faint tension in the air. He knew the rhythm of danger like a heartbeat. Then he saw his daughter, a gun, a trembling woman, still crowd. For one frozen second, his blood turned to fire. He stopped the SUV in the middle of the street, stepped out slowly, eyes locked on the weapon. "Amara," he said evenly, "come here, baby." Mrs. Treadwell swung the gun toward him, her voice cracking. "Stay back. I've called security." Security. The irony almost made him laugh. Marcus took a breath, his voice low and calm, the kind that once soothed frightened soldiers in war zones. "Put the weapon down, ma'am. You're making a mistake you'll regret." But she didn't listen. "You people think you can just move in here?" she snapped. Her words hung in the air like poison. And that was when the neighbors started emerging slowly, one by one. The cameras out. Murmurs rising. Is she really pointing a gun at a child? Someone called the police? Oh my God, she's lost it. Amara ran to her father's side, sobbing. Marcus shielded her with his body, eyes never leaving the woman's trembling hand. He wasn't angry, not yet. He was measuring, calculating, the way he used to before a breach. Then the distant sound of sirens broke the silence. Mrs. Treadwell's confidence crumbled. The pistol wavered, her arm shaking as realization began to dawn. I didn't mean to." Marcus spoke softly, but his voice carried authority that silenced the murmurs. "You aimed a gun at a child, ma'am?" "My child." When the officers arrived, the crowd parted. But they didn't move toward Marcus, they moved toward her. Neighbors pointed, voices rising with anger and shame. "It's her." She pulled the gun. The HOA president, who once barked orders at gardeners and fined families for untrimmed lawns, suddenly looked very small. Her hands trembled as she set the pistol on the ground. An officer approached Marcus. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" Marcus looked down at his daughter, her tear-streaked face, her trembling hands clutching his sleeve. He could have. Every right was his, but something in him hesitated. He saw what fear had done to that woman, how it had twisted her into something cruel. He took a breath. "I just want her to learn," he said quietly. "But I'll let the law decide how." Mrs. Treadwell was taken away, silent and pale. The neighbors who'd once smiled politely but said nothing now stared, ashamed of their silence. That evening, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the houses gold. Marcus sat with Amara on the porch, the smell of cut grass in the air. She leaned her head against his shoulder, Why did she hate me, Daddy? She doesn't even know me. Marcus wrapped his arm around her. Some people fear what they don't understand, he said softly. But we don't let their fear decide who we are. Down the street, one of the neighbors, a young mother who'd watched everything, brought over a pie. Then another brought flowers. And for the first time, the street wasn't divided by fences or fear, but by quiet acts of courage. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. That day, Willow Creek Lane changed. A neighborhood learned what courage looked like. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stands still and refuses to become what it despises. Amara went back to picking flowers. And this time, no one stopped her. If you felt something from this story, tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Marcus's place? And if you love stories that reveal the power of courage and compassion, make sure to subscribe, because there are more stories like this waiting for you.